Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins entered the 2025 season with high expectations surrounding their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, a player who had shown remarkable efficiency and decision-making under the guidance of head coach Mike McDaniel in prior seasons. Fans and analysts alike had grown accustomed to Tua's calm presence in the pocket, his ability to dissect defenses down the middle of the field, and his knack for minimizing mistakes while creating big plays. However, this year, something seems to have shifted. The quarterback who once dominated crucial metrics now finds himself tied for the league lead in interceptions with 13, sitting 24th in passer rating at 88.1, and ranking 23rd in EPA per dropback at 0.01. These numbers would be alarming for any franchise. Yet they are particularly stark for a player who had previously excelled in those very categories. It's a situation that has left fans scratching their heads, sports analysts dissecting tape frame by frame, and the Dolphins coaching staff defending and explaining a regression that, at first glance, looks puzzling. Dolphins quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator Darrell Bevell addressed the media this past Monday, providing insight into the inconsistencies that Tua has displayed over the season. When asked about Tua's ups and downs, Bevell was candid, noting that the quarterback has had good moments and not so good moments, and that the staff is actively trying to recapture the level of play that defined his 2022 and 2023 seasons. The framing here is important because it shows that the coaching staff acknowledges the regression, but attributes part of it to the natural ebb and flow of a football season, the adjustments of opposing defenses, and the process of implementing a game plan that sometimes demands risk-taking from the quarterback. Tua's current interception numbers, particularly, are one of the clearest metrics prompting concern. Yet Bevell pointed out that not all of these turnovers should be placed squarely on Tua's shoulders. The deep interceptions, for example, which have been a recurring theme this season, are frequently the product of the coaching strategy, rather than a simple error in judgment. Bevell cited specific instances in Week 10 against Buffalo, noting that Tua was executing plays exactly as instructed when he threw to interceptions that, on the surface, looked reckless. The strategy was to exploit certain defensive looks, such as single high coverage, by challenging matchups and creating one-on-one opportunities downfield. The logic is sound from a schematic perspective. If the receiver can win a contested catch, and the quarterback delivers the ball on the right look, the payoff is significant. Unfortunately for Tua, the execution has often fallen short of the theory. His arm strength has been inconsistent, failing to generate enough velocity on throws, which allows safeties to undercut routes and turn potential completions into turnovers. The Dolphins' receiving corps, while talented in certain aspects, lacks a player capable of consistently winning high-point, contested balls, which compounds the problem and inflates interception numbers in ways that don't fully reflect Tua's decision-making abilities. This combination of coaching strategy and execution challenges has created a complex narrative around Tua's performance. On one hand, he is being asked to take calculated risks, challenging defenses and putting his receivers in positions to make plays. On the other hand, his mechanics, particularly his footwork, have not been consistent enough to fully capitalize on these opportunities. Bevell touched on this as well, acknowledging that while he doesn't fully agree that Tua's footwork has been inconsistent, there were certainly moments in recent games where the quarterback's base was not where it needed to be. The connection between footwork and accuracy is fundamental in quarterback play, and even small deviations from proper mechanics can result in missed throws or turnovers. Tua himself has commented on this, recognizing that his feet sometimes aren't aligned with his eyes, suggesting that the awareness of the issue exists, but correcting it under the pressure of game situations remains a challenge. The impact of these small mechanical inconsistencies is evident when reviewing film. A perfect example is seen in Week 11 against Washington, where Tua's foot placement directly influenced the pass intended for Jalen Waddle in the end zone. As the tape shows, Tua set his feet just as Waddle was cutting across, forcing a throw on the back shoulder that allowed Bobby Wagner to deflect the pass. Plays like this highlight how minor deviations in technique, foot placement, timing, and body positioning can have outsized effects at the NFL level, where defenses are faster, smarter, and more disciplined than at any other level of football. Bevell's approach is to continue emphasizing proper mechanics in practice, pointing out errors, and reinforcing techniques to restore Tua to the form that made him successful in previous seasons. This level of coaching intervention underscores the fact that the staff still believes in Tua's abilities and is actively working to optimize his performance, even amidst a season that has seen troubling statistical trends. Moreover, the Dolphins' offensive scheme itself has contributed to these inconsistencies. The team's attempts to manipulate coverage, create mismatches, and challenge defenses have not always accounted for the current limitations in arm strength and receiver capabilities. While the concept is sound, finding one-on-one matchups against single high safeties or exploiting coverage tendencies, execution is everything in football. When a quarterback lacks the velocity to challenge defenders or a receiver cannot consistently win contested catches, the high-risk, high-reward strategy becomes a double-edged sword. Tua's interceptions, while often a reflection of adherence to coaching instructions, serve as a glaring reminder that Miami's passing offense is fragile and heavily dependent on precise execution from all parties involved. It's not just a quarterback issue. It's an organizational and schematic challenge that requires alignment across the entire offense. Despite these challenges, there remains reason for cautious optimism. Tua has an opportunity to regain momentum and rebuild confidence over the next two games. Against the Saints and Jets, Bevel has repeatedly stressed that the goal is to return to the efficiency and decision-making standards of prior seasons. The framework is clear: continue coaching proper footwork, maximize matchup opportunities, and encourage Tua to make the throws he is capable of completing consistently. There is no question that the talent and football intelligence exist. The issue lies in bridging the gap between potential and consistent performance. Fans watching closely will want to see how Tua handles pressure, how he executes the system, and whether incremental improvements in mechanics translate into fewer turnovers and more successful plays downfield. In conclusion, Tua Tagovailoa's 2025 season may appear inconsistent on paper, but the context provided by Darrell Bevell paints a more nuanced picture. Interceptions are partly a product of coaching strategy, footwork inconsistencies, and the limitations of the receiving corps. The Dolphins are attempting to recreate the formula that led to Tua's previous success, while adjusting for the unique challenges presented by this season's opponents. The path forward involves meticulous attention to mechanics, smarter risk-taking, and leveraging matchups more effectively. For Dolphins fans, the hope is that Tua can find his rhythm, limit mistakes, and restore the level of play that has made him one of the most intriguing quarterbacks in the NFL. The coming weeks will be critical for assessing whether these adjustments can yield tangible improvements or whether the inconsistencies seen so far will continue to define his season, leaving the franchise to weigh long-term solutions and adjustments in their offensive approach. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments what's your take on the Fins this week. Rumors are swirling through the NFL community like wildfire, and this one is shaking the foundations of the Miami Dolphins roster. Whispers in locker rooms, social media chatter, and insider talks are converging around the same explosive allegation. Tyreek Hill, the star wide receiver for the Dolphins, has allegedly tested positive in a doping test. The news hasn't been officially confirmed by the league, but the intensity of the speculation suggests that something serious is brewing behind the scenes. Fans are in shock, analysts are scrambling for context, and the whole NFL world seems to be holding its breath. If these whispers prove true, the consequences could be severe, not just for Hill individually, but for the Dolphins as a team that has built much of its offensive identity around his electrifying speed and playmaking abilities. For those who follow NFL gossip closely, this isn't entirely unprecedented, but it's rare enough to cause panic when it hits a high-profile player like Hill. The Dolphins' locker room is reportedly tense. Conversations in the facility, according to insiders, have gone from casual chatter to hushed tones, with teammates and staff reportedly asking each other questions in careful, almost conspiratorial ways. You can imagine the scene. Hill, one of the most dynamic and influential players on the team, potentially facing sanctions that could alter his career trajectory. Rumors are already flying about the length of any possible suspension, with some sources speculating that the league could impose a severe punishment. That term alone is enough to get fans and commentators sweating. It implies a suspension that could extend well beyond the usual few games, maybe even threatening the remainder of the season depending on how the investigation unfolds. The timing of this alleged violation is also causing a stir. Hill has been in the spotlight constantly, both for his on-field brilliance and for his high-profile lifestyle off the field. Fans are questioning everything. Was this a single mistake or part of a larger issue? Could there have been any external factors, pressures, or misunderstandings involved? The NFL's drug testing protocols are notoriously strict, and a positive test rarely escapes scrutiny. Analysts are comparing this situation to past high-profile doping cases in the league, drawing parallels, and trying to predict the fallout. The speculation ranges from a few months-long suspension to something that could cast a shadow over Hill's entire career, potentially impacting contract negotiations, endorsements, and even Hall of Fame prospects if the punishment is harsh enough. Meanwhile, social media is absolutely on fire. Twitter threads are exploding, YouTube channels are buzzing, and TikTok clips are circulating with fans dissecting every possible angle. Some believe this could be a misunderstanding or a procedural error in the testing process, while others are convinced it's a clear-cut violation that will shake the league. Memes are popping up as quickly as rumors, and the comment sections of sports websites have turned into battlegrounds of opinion. How could this happen? One fan asks, Tyreek is untouchable. Another declares, the tension is palpable. Because Hill isn't just any player, he's a game changer. A highlight reel machine whose speed and agility redefine what a wide receiver can do. Losing him, even temporarily, could send shockwaves not only through Miami but across the NFL, especially for teams that are already jockeying for playoff positioning. Insiders have been careful with their words, often speaking on condition of anonymity. But the consistency of their reports suggests that there's something real behind the rumors. People close to the Dolphins organization are reportedly bracing for an official announcement. Though no press release has yet confirmed the details, speculation about when the league will make a move is also rampant. Some believe it could happen imminently, sparking immediate media storms, while others think the NFL might bide its time, investigating fully before delivering a decision that could be devastating in both scope and timing. One thing is clear: if the reports are accurate, this is more than just a player issue. It's a headline-grabbing scandal that could dominate sports news cycles for weeks. The potential ramifications are staggering. The Dolphins' offensive strategy has long revolved around Hill's ability to stretch the field, make impossible catches, and electrify fans with every touch. Without him, the team could face serious challenges. Coaches are allegedly already discussing contingency plans, pondering how to adjust their game plans in the event of a suspension. Backup receivers might be thrust into spotlight roles. Quarterbacks may have to alter their approach, and playbooks could be rewritten on the fly. Some insiders suggest that even the team's morale could take a hit, as players who rely on Hill's presence on the field now face uncertainty. The ripple effect of a suspension like this is massive. It's not just about one player. It's about an entire ecosystem built around his talents, of course. There are also financial implications. Hill's contracts and endorsements could be impacted significantly. If the positive test leads to formal sanctions, brands and sponsors are known for reacting swiftly. When a public figure faces allegations of doping, the optics of a suspension or scandal could lead to contract renegotiations, lost sponsorship deals, and a marked impact on Hill's public image. While he's celebrated as one of the fastest and most exciting players in football today, the shadow of a doping allegation could create a complex narrative for fans, the media, and even future employers in sports. Reputation is as valuable as talent, and in this case, it may be on the line. Some insiders have hinted that the league is taking this matter extremely seriously. Rumors indicate that there could be an investigation involving multiple parties, including NFL officials, medical experts, and even third-party testing organizations. The process is described as methodical and thorough, suggesting that any punishment will be well documented and justified according to league regulations. The use of the word severe in some reports is particularly ominous. It signals that if Hill is FU and guilty, the consequences might not be limited to a short-term suspension. Historical precedents in similar cases show that penalties can range from months-long suspensions to multi-season bans, depending on the substance involved and the context of the violation. Meanwhile, the chatter among fans is relentless. Online forums are buzzing with theories, some rational, some bordering on conspiratorial. There's debate over whether Hill's alleged violation was intentional or accidental, whether it involves performance-enhancing substances, or whether it might have been something else entirely. Analysts on sports shows are dissecting the potential impact on the Dolphins season. on playoff odds, and even on the perception of the NFL's drug testing program as a whole. The speculation has taken on a life of its own, creating an atmosphere of tension, excitement, and fear among fans and pundits alike. The story is still evolving, and the truth behind the rumors remains unclear. But the mere suggestion of a doping violation involving Tyreek Hill is enough to dominate conversations across the NFL world. Every angle, every scenario, every possible outcome is being considered, and no one is leaving any stone unturned if the reports are confirmed. It could be one of the most significant off-field stories in recent years, altering careers, impacting team dynamics, and redefining narratives around one of the league's most electrifying talents. Until then, speculation reigns, whispers dominate, and the sports world waits with bated breath, knowing that whatever happens next could be monumental. The Dolphins organization, the NFL, and fans everywhere are now caught in a web of rumor and anticipation, where every report could be a hint, a confirmation, or just another layer in one of the most talked about stories in professional football today. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!